Hi everyone, this is Lori here with Lori Hooks. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So today is not a yarny video, it is a life catch-up about what has been going on with me for the last few weeks. It will be a little bit about yarn, but not really. So if you missed my last couple of videos, because I did do a quick post following right afterwards, but we had a flood in our home. The flood was on August 14th. And I'll kind of explain what's happened since then, and I'll try to do it in order. So on August 14th, I left to go to the clients at 11:30 in the morning. When I left, all was well. My son called at 3:30. The house is full of water. And what had happened was the inlet hose for the water for the toilet on the second floor, the actual hose had broken where it connects to the toilet. So the nut on the end of the hose that screws onto the toilet was still attached to the toilet, and it had broken between the nut and the hose on there. I mean, it was running full force. It got trapped up between the toilet and the wall and was running full force into the air. When my son entered the house, the bathroom floor was full of water. The water was running down the stairs. The light fixtures in the hallway at the bottom of the stairs had water running out of the light fixtures. The kitchen is below that washroom on one side of it, and the wall that's the joining wall to the washroom, the water was coming out of the hydro outlets on that wall. There was water coming out of the light fixture in the kitchen, and all along the living room where the bay window is in the living room, there was water coming out of there's a bulkhead above that window, so there was a place where the water could run to and sit and get trapped. So the water was coming out of that bulkhead onto the couch that was sitting there. And there was about 3 or 4 inches of water on the floor in the basement. The water is all inside the ceilings in the basement level. It's a finished basement where my office was. The water is all inside the ceilings in that basement level. The water was all in the ceilings on the first floor level as well. The hardwood was damaged throughout almost the entire house. And I don't know, like the water inside the walls, water everywhere. So that was the state of our house on the 14th. When I got off the phone with my son, I was at a client, so got myself together enough to get into the car and drive home. I was about 45 minutes from home at that time. So I called the insurance company while I was driving because I didn't know what to do. They started our claim. The person who was dealing with me, because by the time I called, it was like 4 o'clock. They are not a home property damage claims advisor. I don't know what they were claims advisor for, whether it was automotive or what, I'm not sure. But she basically was using a manual to figure out what to do for us. She contacted a company that is a recovery company. They come out to dry up the water. So they came around 8 o'clock that night with like industrial shop vacs to suck up the water and put in a bunch of fans and dehumidifiers in the house to try to dry up the water. Within the days following, our insurance company reassigned our case to a large claims adjuster. The large claims adjuster, she said the company that originally came out to do the recovery is not a large loss company. So she reassigned it to a different company. And so her and the large loss company, recovery company that came out, they came out a few days later. At this point, we had no idea what was going to happen. We had no information about anything. The smaller company had kind of told us to expect to move out at some point. We didn't know when, but we expected to be at home for a while at that point. But no, the large loss company and the insurance advisor came in, and after the walkthrough, they said, no, you need to, we need to pack up the house, absolutely everything in the house, and find a temporary place to live. And they expect that the repairs on the house are going to take 8 months. And it was a blow to my husband and I. We had no idea that it was going to take this kind of time to fix our house. I mean, I guess we wait and see if it's going to actually take that long or what's going to happen, but it was quite a blow. So that was on a Friday that they told us that. They told us over the weekend to collect ourselves and find a local Airbnb to stay in that was furnished for the first couple weeks while the house gets packed up, and while we find a more permanent place to live where we could bring our furniture and stuff like that. So we looked for a local Airbnb. I did some searching online and stuff, and I couldn't find something that fit our needs, that was large enough for all of us, that was willing to take the dog, and that I was willing to stay in. I am a little funny about sleeping in other people's beds and using other people's things and stuff like that. It's a thing with us. So what we ended up deciding to do was to park our trailer in a nearby campground and to stay in there in the interim. And originally we were thinking maybe 10 days we would be in the trailer for. So my daughter was away for the summer at that point, and we thought, okay, 10 days. We'll have our rental, our temporary permanent rental where we'll be for the 8 months, and we'll get moved in before she comes home. Well, that's not what ended up happening. She came home on September 1st, and we were still on our trailer at that point. So our trailer is really small, so that was challenging. But a couple days after she came home, we looked to see a rental that was appropriate. Got the paperwork done over the next few days and got moved in. And as for the packing and the moving process, they had told us that we would be out of the house for approximately 8 months on a Friday. And on the Monday afternoon at like 3 in the afternoon, they called me and said, okay, the crew to help you pack your house will be there tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And I was like, okay. So I get to the house at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's 6 people there to pack the house. And I have to decide what we need for the next 8 months, and whatever we don't need needs to go into storage. So I told some of the crew, okay, you guys get started on the kitchen. We're going to take everything in the kitchen. Some other people started on the dining room, so we didn't bring our more formal dining room type dishes. We didn't bring any of this stuff like our knickknacks that are in the china cabinet or any of that. None of that is here. We are in the rental now, just to make that clear. We didn't bring any of those type of things. So in terms of what was damaged furniture-wise and all that in the flood, one of our living room couches was damaged, and pretty much everything in my office and in the basement except for my actual desk was damaged. Otherwise, everything's pretty much okay. There's some electronics that need to be tested to make sure that they're okay, but pretty much everything else was fine. So when the crew got to the room where my yarn is, they're very polite. That's all I can say is they're very polite. That room was a total mess. And with 2 people staring at me, I had to decide within like 3 minutes what you want and what you don't want. So yeah, very little of my yarn came with me. And at the time, I couldn't even think what I wanted and what I didn't want. I had the projects that I was currently working on were near the chair where I usually sit in the living room, and those all got packed to come here. But the extra yarn for those projects, it didn't come here. So I have the actual project. I have the current ball for the project that I was working on, but I don't have any of the additional yarn, so I can't work on those projects because I'm not going to buy new yarn. I'm going to have to wait until we are back home to work on these projects. I had a kit that I had bought for a knitting cardigan kit that I brought here because it was an easy decision. Oh, just grab that, I'll bring that. I had a yarn in a bag for something else knitted that I wanted to make. That ended up coming here because it was sitting right there, convenient. But pretty much none of the rest of my yarn came. And what I did pick to come didn't make any sense at all. Like, I don't know how I've ended up what I ended up with, but I did end up with all my yarn to make gnomes, like my Sheepy's Katona I had in plastic boxes. That is all here. My craft cards here. So I have all my knitting needles, crochet hooks, all those kind of things. Those all did come here, so I can buy yarn to make things while I'm here. But it's ridiculous that almost none of the yarn came. And as for yarn that was damaged in the flood, I had a couple cardboard boxes that were the boxes the yarn was shipped in on the floor in my office. Excuse me, that yarn it did get wet. So some of the projects that I was currently working on, the extra yarn for those projects were in those boxes. Some of it was in the box, some of it was not. So once we get back home, I'll have to figure out what I have and what I don't have, and I'm gonna have to buy new yarn to replace those so that I can finish my projects. I tried to save out of those boxes what I could. The day after the flood happened, my husband and I went down to my office and tried to save what we could out of my yarn, as well as to pack up my office where the majority of the water was, to try to help the recovery company get the water dried up. So my office was packed in a massive rush, so that because there was carpet in the basement and all the furniture was sitting on that carpet, so I needed to empty out the filing cabinets, empty out my desk, all those kind of things, so that the furniture could be moved, so that the carpet could come out, so that the basement could dry. So yeah, I packed it all up in a big, huge hurry. So it's kind of funny. I thought that the tripod that my camera's sitting on right now, I thought that it went into storage because I couldn't find it. I did find it yesterday when I was unpacking some boxes here. But as for unpacking my office, has been very difficult because since I lost so much furniture, I had to buy some new things to try to replace it. And of course, I can't find something that's quite the same as what I had. And some of the things I could buy something that was more appropriate. So there's been some quick decisions to do with that. So my office is a mess, but the rest of the house is pretty much unpacked in the rental where we are. But we didn't bring a lot with us. A lot went into storage. Anything that I didn't think that we absolutely needed here. So our beds came, most of our clothes came, not all of them. The kitchen, everyday kitchen items came, but the rest did not. And what's funny is this house that we're in, the rental, is bigger than our house. It has high ceilings in the main floor, and my office also has high ceilings upstairs. So everything in here echoes because we are missing about a third of our furniture. And we don't have any carpets because our carpets were all wrecked in the flood. So we don't have any carpets. So there's nothing to dampen the echo in this house. There's an echo everywhere in here. But it's a nice house. It's in a good neighborhood. It's about 10-15 minute drive from our house, so it's not too far away. But yeah, and as for work on our house is about 50 years old, so they had to test our house for asbestos, and yes, we have asbestos in the drywall mud in the house. So everywhere where drywall needs to be removed, they have to do asbestos remediation. So they tore out all the hardwood on the second floor the first day that they were working in the house, and then they started asbestos remediation the following day. Today's Monday. I was last at the house on Thursday. On Thursday, they were removing the ceiling from the living room and taking the drywall out of the washroom upstairs where the flood happened. So those areas were plastic and cordoned off on the Thursday when I was there. I didn't actually go in the house. I was there to get some things outside. But my son was in the house and he sent me some pictures of what he saw. On the Friday, they did asbestos remediation in the basement and started that. So now almost all the house is now cordoned off with plastic, and the different areas are cordoned off. But yes, it's a mess. It's overwhelming. And it's a lot. The insurance company is taking care of us, which is really good. They've been very helpful. They do assume that we know things that we don't, that, you know, there were some things that I thought would go one way and have gone another way, and then it's the way that it has gone is better, that I was worried about something that I didn't need to worry about. So I've now learned to call the insurance company and ask questions when I'm confused. But yeah, it's been a lot. So we've been here in this rental for just over a week. We moved in Friday. Well, they moved us in Friday last week. Over the weekend, we unpacked the major things that we need to unpack. We did the kitchen, and we did our bedrooms. And during the week, I was trying to unpack my office as well as to try to catch up from work, because somebody had to stay home with the dog. So we can't leave our dog alone in the trailer. So for the 3 weeks that we were in the trailer for, I had the dog with me 24/7. So I couldn't do client visits. Our trailer is really small. So I was trying to work in there, but it was very difficult. And the other thing is that we had no internet. So I'm using my phone as a hotspot for internet. So I haven't gotten to watch any videos. I don't know what's going on with anybody because we only got internet a couple days ago here at the rental. And yeah, it's been a crazy time, but things are starting to settle. I got my craft card unpacked. Went through my yarn that did come with me to try to think of some projects that I want to work on. And to try to get through the next few months and have things be as normal as possible. So I think this is going to be my recording spot. While we're here at the rental, I am in the family room. This house has a living room as well as a family room, which our house does not have. So we have an empty living room here, and we have our furniture from our living room in the family room or den that's in here, except for our big couch, which got damaged in the floods. So yeah, so we need to go furniture shopping to replace our furniture that we wrecked. We didn't wreck, well, that the water wrecked. And yeah, so that's where I'm at, guys. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts, prayers, well wishes. I did read them all. I haven't had a chance to comment on them. As I said, I didn't have internet. I was trying to use my phone for everything, and I don't like typing on my phone. So I intentionally did not heart or comment on them so that I could go back and do that later, which I need to do in the next few days. But I do appreciate everybody's well wishes. I appreciate everybody's prayers that gave us during that hectic time in the beginning where things were just seeming so crazy and insane. I'm glad to say everything's pretty much calmed down now, and we're getting used to this new environment that we're in for now. To some people, moving is nothing. To me, moving is a big deal. We've been in that house for 21 years. My daughter has never lived anywhere else. Our son, who's 27, who lives with us, he does remember where we lived prior to that. But yeah, we had a lot of stuff in that house, and it got packed in a hurry. So we didn't get to purge, we didn't get to go through things. It got packed, and almost everything went into storage. We have minimal amount of stuff here, so that's where I'm at. So that's the catch up for today. The next video will be a yarny video where I talk about what I'm gonna work on. I do have some ideas for things. One of my current projects I was working on, I do have the yarn for, but I'm having some trouble wrapping my head around where I was at. So I will work on that eventually, but probably not right away. I'm going to try to stick with things that are a little easier mind-wise right now. So, but I will tackle them and get back to them soon. The projects that I did start that I can work on here, which there isn't very many, but there's a couple I think I can work on. So yeah. So thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for liking my videos. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you next time on Lori Hooks. Bye everyone.